This chapter gives a broad overview of how government developed in this country from the original founders and the Constitution, to ways in which government has grown and expanded over the years, and ending with reactions to government in the last few years. Why have government? The simplest answer is protection, which means many things. Governments protect their citizens from foreign powers and usually are the only military force in a country. But governments also protect the rights of the citizens. That includes maintaining a police force that protects citizens from violence and theft, but it also includes making sure that all citizens have clean and safe food, water, and medicine, which also protects them. Early settlers came to America mostly for one of two reasons. Some came to this country because they had been persecuted because of their religion. These settlers came here wanting the government to leave them in peace to practice their religion as they wanted to. Others came here for economic reasons and mostly saw America as a land of opportunity where they can improve their financial situation. This group also was suspicious of government, especially in the form of taxes. The Constitution was written in 1787, more than 10 years after the nation's independence. It was written to replace the Articles of Confederation, which governed the country after the Revolutionary War. The Articles of Confederation created a very weak federal government, and the Constitution gives more power to the federal government, including over foreign affairs and any commercial business between states. The Constitution says that any powers not directly given to the federal government are given to the states. This shows that the founders wanted to create a government that was limited in size and in power over the people. But the Constitution also allows the government to grow in time, which it has done. The role of the people was, at first, just to elect the House of Representatives, and the Senate and the President would be chosen by other groups already within the government. This changed over the years, and the Constitution evolved as the nation evolved. Government grows for many reasons, but the main reason is that its citizens want it to do more. There have been several periods in history in which the government noticeably expanded. The first period was in the Civil War, from 1861 to 1865, in which the government expanded its military and the president took over many parts of domestic policies. The government also began to provide health care for wounded veterans for the first time. In the early 1900s, the country experienced the Industrial Revolution, which saw a huge growth in factory work in cities. The government expanded to regulate and oversee businesses as a way to avoid child labor, unsafe food, and environmental damage. The Great Depression, from the stock market crash of 1929 until World War II, also brought about government expansion in the form of greater oversight of business, welfare and food stamps for the poor, and unemployment insurance. All of this was covered by increased taxes. World War II saw more growth in the military, but also saw the government begin to control prices of some goods and to take away civil liberties of some citizens. After World War II, the federal government then began to fund many new programs. In the civil rights era of the 1960s and 70s, government expanded again to provide social welfare programs and laws to guarantee the rights of African Americans. Now the federal government was funding many programs that had previously belonged to state governments to ensure that no discrimination would take place. All of these expansions faced opposition, however, and in the 1970s, some citizens began to call for a reduction in the size of government. Politicians like Ronald Reagan made a name for themselves by opposing big government spending, though cuts often meant that spending was just reassigned to the military. Many presidents who said they wanted to cut the size of government actually made the government larger by the time they left office. Public opinion on government spending is complicated and often confusing. Many people think that the government should spend money to help people in areas like healthcare, education, and retirement security, but many people are also generally opposed to government spending. Different political parties in America are largely defined by their thoughts on government spending. There have been many anti-government groups, all with different reasons for opposing the government. But all of these reasons have something to do with the size of government and the way the government spends money. In the years of Obama's presidency, government again grew. The federal government played a major role in saving huge banks, insurance companies, and automakers. The government stepped in to save them because these companies were so important to the country's financial system that if any of them failed, it could cause the nation's economy to collapse. However, these bailouts continue to be controversial despite the fact that most political leaders considered them necessary. This controversy led to much debate over the distribution of wealth and the size of government. Reaction to Obama himself has been influenced from the beginning by his race. Reaction to the Democratic policies that he has enacted has ranged from widespread support to outrage. The healthcare reform especially inspired wild conspiracy theories and strong language, and many town hall political meetings that displayed citizens' anger. The Tea Party movement, representing many conservative voters, came out of this backlash. This group favors smaller government and fewer government services, though many Tea Party members receive Social Security and Medicare, two of the most costly government programs. In the end, trust and confidence in our government has always risen and then fallen again. In 2010, trust in nearly every major American institution, government and business, education and media and labor, has reached historic lows. The cycle will continue, and as many historians have noted, distrust of the government is necessary for freedom.